In today's video, I document the several-month journey and the process to build this wooden bookshelf for my very best friend. Before I made this, and you'll see in the video, this corner of the apartment was very barren. But now, now it's quite cozy. We were able to use mostly recycled materials with a few new materials that look really nice. Some nice oak. And then we went to the park. That's where we started the video, actually, to get some of this wood to add an Art Nouveau style while making it really sturdy. I hope you guys enjoy this long several-month process and bear with all of the diversions and tertiary paths I go down. But I end up getting there in the end. And everything ended up working out. I've come to Pinnock Woods looking for inspiration, particularly some inspiring wood that I can use on a really nice bookshelf that I'm building. I've wanted to build a really nice bookshelf for like half a year now, but I haven't quite found the wood for it. However, it's like every single week we keep finding more good lumber on the side of the road, good old stuff. And we've reached the point now where we have enough wood for the shelves, but not long enough wood for the sides. However, yesterday we found ourselves in Conshohocken, and people recommended that we go to Rittenhouse Lumber. We went to Rittenhouse Lumber, and they sold us some really beautiful red oak for really cheap. And so now we have the wood on the sides, and I realize I'm one piece short at the moment for one of the shelves, but I thought of one extra way to make this really special for her is if I added a bit of a unique look to it. Instead of it just being a box bookshelf, then I can, oh wow. That is kind of, what? That is so funny. Somebody painted it. Anyway, so I thought, why don't I find, there's a little bit of poison ivy out here. Why don't I find a piece of wood that I can plane flat, and it'll have a bit of a lively form to it, and I can use that as a support in the middle of it, so it almost looks like a tree is growing through it. There's a little bit of a lot of stuff here. I don't want to get poison ivy. So I'm looking for a particularly inspiring piece of wood. Sadly, yesterday was a lot of going around and doing things, and it's been very hot, and Thais, with her sickle cell, she's quite exhausted today. Not in the way that you can just sleep off, but in the way that it'll take her several days to get her energy back. And I don't want to push her to have a sickle cell crisis. That is not good. But I had hoped to have her with me today to make this, but I figure instead we'll still get to, I want to build it with her because that's just cool and fun. We'll get the parts ready, and then we'll take them back to the house, and we can put it together there. Instead of just putting it together at the workshop and bringing it back. I mean, just making something at the workshop and bringing it back, that's about as fun as getting something from IKEA for like when you bring it as a gift. But if you put the wood together, you cut it right, and then you bring it back, and then you assemble it at home, that's funner. That's including somebody in on the craftsmanship. Okay. Oh, it's hot today, and it's humid too. Oh wow. We must have had such a current here that this was dragged from over there. I had been planning to come get this, but Man, this is a lot bigger than I thought. It's amazing that that got moved. I had seen those a while ago and wanted them. Well, I guess I got more work to do then. I gotta dig this out and take it. Look at this. This is graphite, a big block of graphite. This is amazing. So amazing to live in an area that has such an industrial past. Like, look at this. Who knows when this was taken off with a lathe. It could be recent, it could be old. It's hard to say. Looks like aluminium. I about choked on my water and I look down and there's more graphite. Man, it's just wild. I see this shape a lot all over the country. I don't know what they're from. I thought this one was good enough until I found this one. It's a little bit rotten, but I think I can do some magic on it. I love how it's twisted. And I think it might look interesting once we plane it flat. So I brought it down here and cut it. And the end did not look too good. So I cut it a little bit more. It looks more useful at least. And then I connected them to boards. So now I can feed them through my planer and they should work out okay. They should be pretty straight. Now, it had a bit of a spiral to it, so I cut it here and I'll do them at different angles so that they're mostly straight. And then that way we can get the most wood out of this. It is so hot outside, and every time I try to film outside now, my phone is actually overheating. So, you know what? I'm not going to record me planing this because it takes twice as long to film and work than it does just to work. And that's a risk I'm not willing to take. I do not want to get heat stroke. I've had a little bit of progress. This one has some rot in it, but this one looks amazing. However, this one is also getting caught up on literally everything, so I'm gonna have to deal with that. It is so hot today. I can't even see what I'm working on because sweat's dripping down my glasses so much. Well, guys, it is absolutely burning up out here, and I was having too many problems with this, so I stopped using the planer and I got the table saw out, and I'm glad I did because it turns out this bottom part is well rotten, which is unfortunate. Like really, really rotten. I don't think I can salvage any of that, but this part is also rotten near the top, but I did have a little bit of a overlap with the cut, but I was able to run it through the planer, and I'm quite happy with that. I think that this side is actually less interesting than this side. So I might be able to actually, like, it's not quite what I wanted, but it's close enough. And I might be able to get enough out of this. I need 5 14-inch sections. That's all. I was hoping they'd be one long continuous piece, but oh well, it is what it is. So I was able to work around these 2 bad sections and still managed to get 5 pieces and a leftover piece for the base, because the bottom shelf is going to be just 1.5 inches off of the floor, and so I want a little section to extend down. How I worked around some issues was that I moved over one of the lines so that the average piece is 13 inches and a quarter. Well, this one I made 15 inches and a quarter, and this one I made 11 inches and a quarter. So we'll have a shorter shelf and we'll have a bigger shelf. And that allowed us to eke out just enough wood for this. I wish I had another one of these though, because this is by far the weakest looking piece of wood. Not physically weak, but artistically weak. These have beautiful structures in them, and this one is just, rotten wood. This is what sent me to the ER that one time, making that,
I know. I was afraid of that.
It's still, that splinter went deep, so I have to pull it out. I might take this to work tomorrow, to the workshop. And,
Yeah.
I'll put the stain on there. Okay, so it turns out this board went from 9 1/4 inches to 8 3/4 inches and to 9 1/4 inches again, or thereabouts. It got smaller in the middle. Ow, got a splinter. And so that's kind of throwing me off, because then we cut this in half so each board tapers a little bit. So I'm gonna have to cut that back. And there we have it, all sanded and ready to go. Let's see what happens. Actually, I guess I can do a time lapse. And you can be in as close as you want. You can start up pretty close. So it's been a little bit. Summer's kind of put a halt on this project, but the polyurethane coat on that board, it's had like a month to dry, and now it's perfectly dry. I love it, because even within the first week or two, polyurethane is still kind of tacky. So now we're also in a moment where it's almost like fall weather. It's like 75 degrees Fahrenheit out here. It's really nice. So today was the day to work more on this. And because I had just gotten these two bigger pieces of wood, because I was looking at the wood that I had, and remember, I had to cut it narrower so it would make the whole bookshelf narrower. Well, I decided we can just have the shelves themselves come out by 2 inches, and I can just bevel the edges to come meet the sides. And you know, that actually looked more unique anyway. But that meant that I also had to narrow myself down to only using these wider boards. Turns out that just adding 2 inches basically just made it 11 inches. So I only had to take off a tiny bit of wood, enough to clean up the edges on these. And it just so happened that pretty much every single one of these boards had one side that was gross or nasty or whatever. So that worked out pretty good. And we are still down one board, but I can find another one. And we're just not going to have the bottom shelf for some time, but we'll have the top shelf, all the top shelves and one of the tops. So I'm thinking I might make this into one of the tops because it looks so nice, and then these can be the other shelves. Since these have bits of wood, you won't be able to see them on the camera, so don't bother. They have bits of wood because they were glued to like a crate, and when I popped them off, wood came off. So I'm going to try to cut a bit off each side, but I have 2 extra feet to work with, and whatever wood I cut off, I'll use as the ends to a sawdust crate. So now I just made this, and I know I told myself that I wasn't going to modify this. I was going to make another one, but I don't have another one. I already made this. It's a sled for cutting little pieces of plastic, or little pieces of wood. I also use it for plastic. Well, to cut this, I think I'll just remove this front piece and go from there. But, well, actually, I can't because I did cut all the way back. Darn. What to do? Oh yeah, I can. Never mind, because I put 4 screws in it. You turn off now. Last night we brought the boards in, and it was nice. We were finally able to get a lot of the stuff out of the back of the car. It's been back there for so long. These look like they've all been cut pretty much perfectly. I'm actually really excited. And then the very last thing I did last night was I cut these. These were from a wooden dresser that we found on the side of the road, and I decided just to take it apart right then and there. And I've been using these bits of maple for so much. This maple, with that same stain, actually comes out quite nicely. So it should match quite well. I need to sand it though. But these are going to be what the shelves sit on. And that way I'll have a chance to have screws going in this way, and then the shelves will actually be sitting on something. And I can even put a few screws into them. Now I'll have to get the heights correct because we finally got these all done. I need to figure out how exactly we're doing this. But I want to make sure that these actually have a bit of a tension to them. So I'm going to have to keep track of that. I got most of the morning by myself today because Thais had to go to the hospital to get a blood infusion. You know, she has sickle cell, and so her body can't produce iron. So about every year and a half, she has to go back there and get an injection because, well, otherwise she'd die. But the injections are so potent that she has to wait so long that she gets so tired before they can put it in her again. I kind of wish they could do more of like smaller maintenance infusions. Then she wouldn't have to go through months of just being so tired. But that means I have this morning pretty much open. And then the rest of the day is going to be pretty calm too, because she'll probably be napping or playing games or something like that. So that's why I'm doing this in the morning. You know, it's funny. A lot of people wouldn't think to use a solar panel for a sanding block, but solar panels are nice little framed pieces of glass. And it works perfectly. There's a lot of dust on it. So I'm just going to sit outside and sand it. This is kind of a two-hand deal, so I can't really show it with just one hand and no tripod, but I'm just getting a little bit of this rough burr off and making it where you could brush your hand against it grabbing a book and you wouldn't harm yourself. And I'm also kind of just taking a quick little pass on this, but this wood's actually very nice. It is good maple, so I'd expect no less. Fancy meeting you here.
I know.
You look like you need a day-long nap.
I need food, some water. Even though I had some, they take care of you there, but...
Coffee's ready.
Sweet. I could use another cup. They gave me a little cup of coffee.
So here's the pieces of wood.
Yeah.
This is the backside. You're not going to see that, but
Okay.
I smoothed it around the edges. So that's going to mount onto the bookshelf like that.
Nice.
And
Perfect.
I'm trying to make it so I'm trying to polish the fronts of these
So it looks good.
Yeah, as good as it can. And I'm also trying to get the most life out of this one piece. Just 2 more. I'll be in a bit.
Okay.
I realized I needed a few more pieces before I got started. In actuality, one of the pieces that I cut last night had a big piece of wood chip still stuck to it, so I didn't actually sand it. You may have noticed that I only did, I think it was 9 or so of these. But then I realized that for the bottom one, they were a little bit too tall. So for the bottom shelf, I just cut this one in half. And so now we're back up to exactly what I want. And they're shallow enough to allow the bottom shelf to be close enough to the floor. And then since I'm here, I came over here because I needed to get the screws. I forgot all my fasteners. So I figured I might as well go ahead and make these corner brackets. So these can just go on the back of the bookshelf. And that can hopefully add some rigidity. I might add a few of these, but for now, this will help a lot. And then lastly, I think what I want to do is I want to find like a 5 or 6 foot piece of wood that I can use for the very back of it. I might have to wait on that. See what wood I have. Well, this will work. This is a board that I got out of the trash at our apartment complex, and it had some water damage, but it's the baseboard, 1932. I say maybe I'll trim up at least this side, maybe trim this side up too. Maybe we'll even plane it so it looks nice. But that can be on the very back, and I can put screws in it, and that way the front of the shelves will be supported by those logs that I cut, but the back, it also needs support in the middle because this will be holding books and stuff, and I want it to be really sturdy. You know, if I were smart, I would have actually cut the shelves, notched them in so these would actually this would sit on it, but oh well. I think that I don't even need to plane this top side. Oh gosh, the sounds in the background. I don't need to plane this top side. I'm just going to wipe it down. And I like this because this is the back side. This was the side that was facing front, but this is the back side, and I like how that looks. But I'm always a fan of this aged wood. I love this stuff. Now here's something else. When me and Thais went around town to get this old wood, when we took apart that dresser, I also threw all of the screws that I removed into here. So I want to see how many of these screws I have, because I think that those would look really cool. So I counted up exactly 25 of these, 4 of those smaller ones. And then I also have these ones that I've been saving from pianos and such. I do like that these are Phillips head. That actually is a little bit easier to work with. I can just use my power drill. The only issue with these screws is that they aren't long enough to go all the way through, so I will have to drill with like a 1/4 inch drill bit first, and then drill down quite a bit to countersink these in. But I think that's just how they did it, so that's perfectly fine. I'm deep in the mess of fixing these, and I got something that works. I made this and glued it on, and I had to countersink the screws in a little bit, but it's actually working. And in my little kitchen work drilling area, I made all these. Now it's time just to take these and finish the job. And I'm not going to be recording it because I do it in a way that YouTube commenters are going to just endlessly complain about. So I say, what you do in your kitchen with your tools and bare feet, well, that can stay in your kitchen. But the reason I'm doing it here is because it's big enough to where sawdust isn't going to go anywhere too far, and I can just vacuum it up real quick. So suffice to say, I marked some dots just with getting the angle from here with my caliper, then putting a dot roughly in center. And then I use this drill to drill the through hole. And then afterwards, I use the big drill just to go down a little bit. Not even as far as that tape goes back, honestly. I put that back a little bit too much, but I go within that much of that. And that's how I get those countersink holes. Wow, Thais, you're playing really well.
Yeah. Look at me go.
It's a walkthrough. We're watching Let's Play. So I really don't feel like doing this today. My knees are killing me, but I'm actually getting through it pretty well. We have 1, 2, 3 already done, and I've lined them up to where they should be just snug with those pieces of wood. So I might be able to just press them into place. I already drilled the holes here. Now it's time to glue it up. I now have them pretty much all done except for the last bit on the first one. I flipped them over because this is a little bit too long. I just need to move this into the kitchen and do a quick cut along that line. But they're all glued up and they've all screwed in really well. Because I'm using these as the measuring stick, they did get a little bit misaligned, so I did drag them in. So I may need to shorten those or extend them. I'm not quite sure, but I didn't want to go with using measurements. I just wanted to use those as the measurements, but we'll see what happens. Took a lot of work, but I was able to get it in the end. My ryoba is starting to drift a little bit. I think I've used the blade a bit too long, but they're disposable, so I should just give up on that. But overall, I'm still very happy with that. It's a shame that with my current tools, it's very difficult to cut big boards diagonally or perpendicular or whatever the term is. It's the next day and it's a little beehive of activity in here. Slowly cutting the shelves. I got this together and it's okay. The braces add a lot of rigidity, but I'm also going to think about possibly mounting it against the wall with a bracket because I really worry about it falling forward. Since these side pieces were so narrow, I decided instead of having these come out straight, I just cut them to 11 inches and beveled them out. This wood that I have for the shelves is really, really soft, and I mean, it is easier to drill through, but it's also soft. And I tried for some of these pieces putting stain on the edges just because they had stuff on the other side, so it would look weird to have this freshly cut. But this does not stain very well. So some of these other ones, I'm not going to be putting any finish on them anytime soon. But thankfully they're the lower ones. Honestly, we might just paint them. I have the other corners to cut off of these two, and I still need to find another shelf. Now, once we get these two in, we can see about adding the spacers, and we can add this to the very back. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make several of these cross arms. I'm going to have another set up at the very top. Here's the, so it is actually pretty strong. Okay, it's actually, if I tip it back, it doesn't fold up at all. If I pull it back, it actually comes back as a square. So that's really good. Those have added a lot of rigidity. So adding, I might actually have 6 in total. What kind of truck was that? It sounded like a tugboat.
I know, right?
On these parts, I just used what I could of these flathead screws that I got from a 1940s piano I found in a Walmart parking lot and took apart. For the top part, though, I'm just using these 1 1/4 inch Torx screws. I have a few more of these screws left, but they're honestly a bit of a pain to use. So I'm just going to use the Torx bits on this crappy wood. Well, good news, guys. All of those pieces fit together perfectly. And I actually ended up doing it perfectly where when I put the bottom one in, it just barely sits there. But then I cut it down by like 1/8 of an inch each one. So as I add them, they're just friction fit in there, but they're all really tight. And so these ones are pressing down on the bottom one. And I'll need to cut a new bottom block. That way it is actually sitting on the floor. But I might just put a wedge underneath it wherever we set it. This is going to be one of those things where, I mean, let's be honest. This apartment, no floor is level. So this thing's probably perfectly level. And so that's a problem because all the floors go up and down because it's a 1930s building. I'm still going to look for a shelf for this piece, but for now we can go ahead and start putting books on it and get this mess cleaned up. So I'm going to finish off by putting this piece of wood on the back because, you know, it wouldn't make much sense to have that on the back but not this, that on the front but not this. And as for this, at first I was only sure of the clean side, but after we washed it up, the side that had the varnish actually has a really neat look to it. So, ooh, whoops. That's probably about all the work I should be doing today. But let me finish this up. I actually like how that weathered baseboard looks. It is almost like a varnish. Just, you know, I'm just getting a clip before we populate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were just thinking of what we could put in that corner, and I was thinking, well, all this like Apple Lisa stuff isn't going to be used for a long time, so I can go back there. Oh, Thais, the Final Fantasy XIV cookbook, that can go up near the top if you want.
Oh, yeah.
With the other Final Fantasy stuff.
Yeah, let's put it, I'll put it up there.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to search the closet and see. You know, when you move, you don't remember what you brought with you.
Yeah.
I think. Is this a timer?
Oh.
For the Minolta cameras?
Oh, yeah, the cameras. I forgot about that. They can go up there, too. It's been a few weeks, and the bookshelf has found its place in this home very well. I found a new piece of wood to make the final shelf with, and a friend of ours gave us some stain. Oh, this is kind of stuck on there. So I'm taking these off. I'm going to take them to the workshop, and I'm going to stain them really quick, along with the third one. We have the 2 shelves up there, and they're exactly 11 inches wide. I recall that because I actually had to take some width off of the boards that I used before because they were, used boards that are messed up. This one is 11.5 inches or so. So I'm gonna trim it up on my table saw real quick, down to the right dimension. And well, this side's pretty good, so I'll cut off that side. That's good enough. I got it sanded, and I even took out that blemish I caused whenever I was using the chisel. This will be the bottom, this will be the top. So I could have taken a little bit more off, but it's been a few weeks since I first made those shelves, and it seems that I had more information in my head than on my notes, and I thought it was, for some reason I had 8 3/4 written down, but in this video I know for a fact I probably said differently, but I'm gonna cut a little more off and that should fix it. Oh right, I'll need to sand the old ones as well because they have little bits of glue and junk all on them. But thankfully not as much as the other one, except for in places like this. I do kind of wonder how this stain is going to look on this wood that I found though. Not too bad, not too bad. Oh, and as for this foam, this is a foam from an old IKEA bed cushion. Whenever me and Thais were living on a couch, the couch was uncomfortable. That was before we got our apartment. When we were waiting for the apartment, well, the couch was uncomfortable, and so we got one of those liners. But then as soon as we got our bed and our apartment, we were just like, okay, we need to get rid of this thing. Bad memories. And well, I didn't really get rid of it. We actually used it. We used it on our bed for a while, but then we realized, like, we don't really need this. Our bed's pretty nice. So now we have a bunch of foam, and I started cutting it up and using it for this. Yep, I'm pretty happy with this. So this is the new one. I had to sand it a lot extra because it was had a lot of glue on it. And so that made it lighter. And so I had to put 2 coats on it, which made it blotchy. But, you know, it's a look. It might not be consistent, but who cares? It's a look. And the other ones, they'll probably look just fine too. And we can if this one ends up not looking good, we can always just hide it a few shelves down. But things are going to be on it. So really all that matters is the front. And the front looks fine. So I'm happy with that. That's a pretty good shelf made from junk. And it is 10 o'clock at night. It's 10:35. So I'm gonna go and go to bed. Yeah, that'd be good. No more table sawing at midnight for me. So do you want to take a look at it? What do you think?
Looks good to me.
I mean, first of all, okay, yeah. You know, the wind must have picked up because there's like all this gravel and stuff on it.
We'll wipe them.
Yeah.
Before we get them in.
I like this. So it's been 2 days. I let it have extra time to dry because it was a little bit tacky. But now they're nice and dry. And hopefully that little bit of stain should look pretty good in the low light of the living room. You know, I'm glad I made it high enough so that the Macintosh can be there. Okay, well, it looks like I may have made the measurement off of this one, which is a little bit smaller. I thought I got them both right. I can't remember. It was like a month ago, but whatever. What's good is this was pretty soft. I go in and out so the screw drills in, makes a little hole. I pull it out so it doesn't push it away and then it goes in. Finally. Oh, I didn't drill a hole in here. Oh well. Thankfully, this board is long enough that it's not going to split it if I drill into it, even if that board is from the 1930s. Ooh, that's getting a little bit. Oh.
That is by far the worst baguette we've ever bought.
I know. It's so stale. Even if I did cut them out. Wow, I still have to cut it up. Oh well. Okay, I need to cut a lot of this. These did not come out at the height that I thought they would. Okay, you can let go. Which, you know, that'll mean that it'll dry.
Like a glove.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Actually, you know what? It had cupped a lot, and now it's not cupped. So maybe this wood, when I found it, must have had moisture in it. Mm-hmm. And when I put it in the sun, it cupped a bunch, but now it's not cupped. So that's good. Oh, what do you think?
I like it.
Oh, it's not bad. I take the camera. Yeah, so that's what it's supposed to look like. I feel like maybe we should put down a piece of cloth or something, like if the books stick to it.
Yeah, for now we won't have books up there just
I mean, they probably won't.
because we don't have any more books at the moment.
Yeah. So this was drying in a parking lot for a day, and a lot of like gravel dust and stuff got all over it, especially like shingle dust and stuff from the buildings around there. And I thought, well, it'd be nice if I had a card to card it. Well, I have a card, and I just scraped up all the little bits, and I can do it on all three of them. It's a shame the wind really kicks up a lot of fine dust. So it's kind of hard to leave stuff out. I bet our neighbors wonder what's going on in here.
They probably are.
Yeah. Well, if you could do me a favor and wipe that off. You collecting any of it?
It is.
Okay, good.
You just have to.
That top one, the new one, had the most of the best one. I had a double do. We're finally getting around to editing the video, and now I have to make the final clip.
Ah.
You know?
Right.
So that's how it looks. We're going to be putting more books on it later, but, you know, for the time being, it's perfect for what we want.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's just a matter of, I mean, we don't need to find things to fill it. We just need to find the things that we have. They need to migrate their way into it. But we're not too eager because I'm going to be making maybe one or even two more cabinets in the future, and maybe another small bookshelf. So we can see about where that'll all go. If this ends up having room up here, we might put video games up there. But yeah, I like this. What's your opinion of your new bookshelf?
It's great. I love it.
Is it a suitable gift for a friend?
Yeah, it's a suitable gift for a
Because we've been friends for 3 years.
I know.
Yep.
It's nuts.
Enjoy your bookshelf. It helps that, you know, looking at the footage.
I know.
It was so vacant before over there.
And we still have a lot more.
Yeah, like my corner.
Your corner.
It's very. I just have a picture of the tally ho, and that's it. Yeah. And that bookshelf absorbed so much stuff up into it, and in an elegant fashion as well, because we have. Let's see. We have Apple hardware, a bunch of SCSI drives, and we have magazines and such, and then we have laser discs and books, and then we have bigger books and manga, and then we have Final Fantasy 14 books and magazines. The magazines are over here, right? Oh no, the magazines are up here. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the Macintosh for no reason, and Final Fantasy 14 acrylic figures. In my collector's edition box, and a compressor blade, or whatever you call it, from a steam power plant, my wood whaler mask, all sorts of goodies. Oh right, I'm making dinner. I need to get back to it. Well, here's your footage to finish the video with. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. See ya!